This institution is an equal opportunity provider.
All right, so the recording started. I'm going to count down to like a little 3, 2, 1 thing, and we'll go right into it. You ready?
Let's go for it.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 4-H Youth Summer Podcast. Today, I am once again here with...
Hey, my name is Margaret. Todd, I go by Megan. I am a senior legal specialist with the Agricultural Law Education Initiative.
Megan, it's so awesome to have you back with us today. So would you like to talk about what we are going to cover in today's episode?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I agree. It's great to be back for another session with you, this time in person. So today we're going to talk about account safety and security related to online sales and, having an online presence with your business. I do also have to make clear in advance that I do work for ALEI through the University of Maryland, and our primary focus is education. So we don't represent clients. We don't give legal advice. So even though I'm going to be talking about some laws today, I just have to make it clear it's all for educational purposes. For anybody who does want some legal advice related to their business or their specific scenario, we advise people to go, find an attorney to help them with that. If you're in Maryland, the Maryland State Bar Association does have an agricultural law section for people in the agricultural sector, and they have a directory of lawyers that are in the state and practicing in different counties and different practice areas. So it's a great resource for anyone looking for an attorney.
Yeah, that's definitely a very important disclaimer to get out the way. And so, yeah, let's hop right into it. So safety and security. So how would I ensure the safety of my consumers' information if they were to make I guess, like a transaction on my website? How can I make sure that's safe and secure?
Oh, you're jumping right ahead to the end, aren't you? That's definitely exactly what the consideration is for today in terms of account safety and security, and why business owners, even farmers, should really be thinking about how to protect consumers' information. So just kind of like lay the foundation here, there are laws in place that require business owners to take certain measures to ensure that their customers' privacy is protected. So in Maryland, there's a Consumer Protection Act, of course, and then more recently there's an addition called the Personal Information Protection Act. And that is just something that kind of sets some guidelines for business owners if they do discover that they have been subject to a security breach. Their information has been stolen, and because businesses are collecting a lot of consumers' information, like if they have an online sales platform, that often includes the customer inputting their credit card information, with the protected PIN and their mailing address. In addition, and it's all connected to their first and last name, their full name, right? They might also have other account information depending on how the online platform is set up. So they have this information. The business owner has this information. They're going to be storing it some way. But if there's a breach, they have to notify the customers within 45 days after discovery or notification. And I say notification just in case maybe they're outsourcing the management of their data. Still, even if that company becomes breached and they get notified, they have to then pass that notification on to their customers. There's also the Federal Trade Commission. The FTC has federal guidelines on consumer protections for privacy information. And they do have a really great cybersecurity guide for small businesses, which I would recommend to listeners to go and check out. And we can put the link in the description, I think. But it's a really great resource. So aside from the fact that there are these legal requirements to do what you can to protect your customers' information and certain steps that have to be taken, it also just makes really great business sense, I think, because the same steps that they're going to have to take to protect their customers' information, it's also going to protect the business's information, right? So the business accounts, the business plans, if they've got strategy planning documents somewhere on their computer or in the cloud, it's going to, also kind of safeguard those things. So that's some of the reasons that farmers, even farmers as business owners should be considering account security and safety measures. To actually get to your question, though, about like what are some of the things that they can be doing?
Well, actually, can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you said that there was a notification period, 45 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what type of notification does it have to be? Does it have to be like an email, a call, a letter?
Very good question. It can be any of those methods, really. Just the measure that it's going to make sure that the customers who are affected are aware. So typically it can be an email, it can be a letter. If the business doesn't have their contact information, then they can do sort of like a general posting, like a notification maybe on their website or in a publication like a newspaper. If it's a very large list of customers and it would be probably like very expensive, there is a certain number, financial threshold. I can't remember what the number is, but I think it's like if it's over $100,000, it would cost to like notify all those affected customers. There might be some alternatives, but mailing letters, phone calls, definitely an option. Email, big option. Posting on the website, or even publication. Yeah.
So I assume word of mouth would not be good enough?
No, sir. Don't believe it would be.
Awesome.
Yeah, okay. So what are some of the measures that they can be taking to increase those privacy protections for their customers? So like I said, the FTC Cybersecurity Guide is a fabulous place to start. And so everything I'm going to talk about right now, it's in that guide too. So for anybody who's not going to catch it all or wants more information, please go there. But so like the number one thing is password protection, right? Like that's really basic. I think in today's world, that's pretty much like a standard. But I think, just so controlling, what your password is, like the strength of it is something that I think when we go and create accounts now, we're kind of forced to make a strong password, right? We can't just like have it be the same thing over and over and be simplified like we used to.
Yeah.
Which is nice. It's good for us. It's hard. Kind of going along with that though, you're going to have all these strong passwords and hopefully unique to each account that you have, like not reusing the same password. It can be hard to remember those things. They do have password managers now, like Bitwarden, I think is probably a great tool for people to use if they have lots of accounts. And I'm talking about right now from like the business owner's perspective. They're going to be logging into their computer. They're going to be logging into their online sales platform, maybe their accounting software or platform. Like all of the business owners' accounts, like they should be password protected. They should also have, they should be aware of which employees have access to those accounts also and control it or restrict it accordingly. And like the last thing with passwords, I think we see a lot more often now is multi-factor authentication. So just kind of taking that extra layer of security to verify that you're the person with the password. They're going to also use like your phone number or an email to send you a code that you then enter into your login platform to verify that it's you. It can be a pain, I think.
Definitely.
Maybe especially if you forgot your phone somewhere or your battery is dead. It can be pretty obnoxious. But I think it's definitely worthwhile in today's environment. We hear a lot about data breaches nowadays. And I think, the hot topic is like we hear about data breaches on a large scale, right, from counties, like governments, right, and larger organizations, but it happens to everybody. It can happen to anybody. I get phishing emails all the time, so it just makes sense. The next thing that they can do would be, I think, connected to their Wi-Fi network. So if they do have Wi-Fi on their farm for their business, making sure that it's closed network, having a password there, a strong password to access the network, changing it from what, like you get the router, right, when you set up your account, and it comes with the default password. Change that password.
Yeah.
Because I think there are a lot, like their standard passwords aren't like totally random. I think there's the ability for hackers, if they're interested, if they know what type of model router you have, to like kind of figure out what that password is. So change the name of your network also so that it's not associated with the type of router you have. And then thinking about, say, maybe you access apps that, have customer information from your phone. And if you're going out, to the Starbucks to pick up a coffee and you want to do something business related on your phone, don't log into the public Wi-Fi. If your phone contains sensitive consumer information, or you can access sensitive consumer information from your phone. So just kind of being aware of that. If you have a hotspot, like your phone service provider allows you to have a hotspot, you could use that instead. But don't access unprotected networks while you're out in public. Another consideration can be, I think cloud storage is definitely a big trend now because we have so much data.
Yeah.
So much data, and it can take up a lot of space. And I know their hardwares are getting bigger and bigger to accommodate that space, our phones and our computers. But sometimes, it's easier just to log into a website to access it wherever you are, regardless whether you have your own computer with you or not, which is great. I think cloud access is really convenient, but also think about maybe backing up your data as a business owner onto a hard drive, just in case it gets wiped or ransomwared or whatever it may be. You still have access to that information, so you could potentially contact your customers if something with that notification if necessary. And then I think that the next and the last one I'm going to talk about right now, probably the biggest thing, is going to be educating yourself as a business owner, and then also educating your employees, specifically and particularly the employees that are going to have access to your online accounts, about some of the common hacker tricks. So I think we've all seen, we rely on our junk mail filters quite a bit. They do a great job, but some still get through to your inbox, right? And so if you see an email message or even a text message nowadays, which is super annoying, that just seems off, like you don't recognize the sender, or there's typos, if there's, a sense of urgency about it in the subject line, those are all kind of indicators that maybe it's not on the up and up. And if they're asking you to provide, some information, your account information, or to click a link that you're not familiar with, you don't recognize where it links to, and it's not something that you're expecting from whoever sent the email to you or message to you, just approach all of that information with some wariness, right? And if it's from a sender that you do know, I know this person, but they're asking me something that's really strange or maybe out of the ordinary, take another route to verify. So call them, to verify that what they are asking you in that email is legitimate, or, take some other path. But basically just educate yourself and your employees in terms of accessing accounts and passwords and avoiding hacker tricks like that. Those are some of the big things I would say.
Yeah, a lot of the scams that we're seeing nowadays can be extremely scary in how much information they actually can pick up and can transmit. It's really I guess, yeah, it's very interesting and creepy stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I think I am pretty much just about out of questions. Really happy to have you here. It appears that
I could say a few other
things.
things.
Oh, yeah, please do. I was going to ask if you had anything else you wanted to share.
I do. Oh, my gosh. I feel like the law, there's never-ending things that you could say. And I'm by no means, an expert on the cybersecurity stuff. I know what I've read, and I've read it many times. And just helping people understand from a legal aspect that there is an obligation legally for them to take these steps and think about it, even though it might be out of their wheelhouse a little bit. Because, their business isn't they're not in the business of keeping passwords and whatever. They're in the business of growing possibly, or dealing with customers. I think another aspect I would say is in terms of their website, I think we rely, like I said, they're not in the business of the cybersecurity stuff. So there is a tendency to rely really heavily on the online sales platform or the internet service provider, whichever company that they're using, to kind of provide those safeguards and that level of security to prevent them from being hacked. So that's all well and good, but if it comes down to something that a consumer is going to bring in action for a violation or failure to protect their information, they are going to be looking at what are the steps that the business owner themselves took, and if they are relying on the online sales platform, did they go through and verify, like, what are the steps that that company uses? So, just asking questions, having a plan in place, that's probably like the most important thing, and reviewing what the FTC has available. And even the Maryland Attorney General has information on their website to help business owners become familiar with what does the state law require.
Do you have, like, in mind any questions that one should look at when they're picking, like, a online seller or, like, an online vendor, or if they're picking, like, what website service to host their website on that they should look at? Or do you know a good source where that information can be found?
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about it last session on some of the questions that they should be asking, like an online sales platform provider, service provider. But yeah, it's something that they can talk to with a sales rep, asking about, like, what are the encryption layers, like, on the website, like, who has access to the information or the data that they input on that sales platform, because that's kind of where all the consumer information is going to be stored anyway. So maybe asking, like, what happens to that data would be a good place to start in terms of, like, the cybersecurity side of things. I also wanted to say, like, if there is an instance where there is a breach, like they've been hacked and they believe that consumer's information has been compromised, then some of the steps that they can take to, like, stop and prevent further exposure, aside from the notification, would be just kind of like disconnecting their devices from the internet would be a good place to start. Reporting that data breach to the Attorney General in Maryland, for instance, if it's a Maryland-based business. And then again, notifying the affected parties and having those backups in place, really, just in case. So, yeah, it's a lot of information to juggle and keep in your mind. But that's why we have those guidance documents.
Yeah, those definitely sound like they will be extremely useful. And again, they will be linked in the description wherever you found this podcast. It'll probably be on the YouTube channel, but if not, we may be able to get it in the Spotify description as well. Okay. And unless there's anything we've missed, where could you like to remind everyone where they could go if they have any questions?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So if anybody has any questions, like I said, I work for the Agricultural Law Education Initiative. Our website is www.umaglaw.org. So they can go to our website, look at all our resources. We recently created a legal guide to direct farm marketing for Maryland produce growers that contains some of this information. If they have questions about that guide in particular, or any resource or anything that I've talked about today, like if I was unclear about anything, they can reach out to me directly for email. My email address is motodd, D like David, at law.umaryland spelled out .edu.
All right. Thank you so much. And we're going to go ahead and close out. Ms. Todd, thank you for your time. And everybody, we hope to see you in our final episode. Goodbye.
Bye.